or men who have at least 6 months of current abstinence. Everyone except the speaker should mute themselves now so we don't have background noise. And our speaker tonight is Baruch.
You got it.
All right. And welcome, Baruch. And would you like a notice from the timer when you have 5 minutes left, or how would you like?
Yeah, that'd be great. Sure.
Okay, super. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Pat, for leading the meeting, and thanks, Bob, for signing me up to share my experience, strength, and hope. My name is Baruch. I'm a compulsive overeater from New Jersey, and I came into program on July 8th, 2005, weighing somewhere around, I think, 350 plus pounds. And since July 8th, 2005, thank God, one day at a time, I've been maintaining that 150-pound weight loss. So I guess I'll share with you a little bit, my background, where I'm coming from, and how I got into program, and just the miracle of it all. I grew up, in a great family, a tremendous family, great parents, wonderful siblings, very family-oriented. The one thing about my family was, on my father's side, they're all obese, absolutely obese, clearly compulsive overeaters. Again, I just called it fat. I didn't know the words compulsive overeater, or food addict until I came into program. But everybody eats, and everybody is very, very large. And as great as they are and as wonderful as they are, there's always something gnawing at the back of our minds, and that is, the fact that we were big. So I grew up, in that milieu, in that family. And as a kid, I was very athletic, extremely athletic. Even though I was very big, I was always, the husky size, always splitting my pants as a kid, and rubbing out the crotch and the seams, because I got thunder thighs going on. But I was extremely athletic. I grew up in Canada, played ice hockey. I was the best defenseman, on any team that, we played pickup hockey, because you couldn't get around me. So I cut down the angles. I was very wide. And I did karate, won medals in karate as a kid, actually. I was actually very flexible. I used to, when I was 7 and 8 years old, I used to be able to get into the splits as a big kid, get into the splits without stretching. Very, very flexible. Played baseball, played basketball, but I was always into the food, always into the food. My earliest memory of food being, comforting for me, I guess, was when I was a kid. I had to have tubes put in my ears. And when my parents told me that I was going to have that surgery, the next thing on the table was a plate of round sugary things. I had about 2 of them. I was about 5 years old at the time. I do remember that. So that was, I think, food at that point became a comfort, a go-to item when I just needed a pick me up, or I felt bad. But throughout elementary school, I was always very big, very popular, but very big. High school, I went away to a boarding school out in Wisconsin. And with my parents not looking over my shoulder, especially my mom, who's not a compulsive overeater, I ballooned. I went off. I just, again, very loud, always, outgoing. And people, loved, I wasn't sure if they were laughing at me or with me, but I was always the life of the party, because everybody likes to see a big, fat guy, dancing around, having fun, hopping and bopping and having fun. And again, I didn't really feel good about myself. I could say I had friends, but they weren't really friends. I didn't really connect with anybody on a deep level. And it was, again, it was a lot of fun being in high school away from home, but it was not fun for me in terms of growth as a person, and growth of emotional growth. And that exacerbated even more, again, throughout high school, I was continuously into sports. I was a starter on the basketball team all 4 years of high school. You couldn't get around me in the lane. I boxed out 6 people. All the other 5 people on the team, I boxed them all out. No one get a rebound. Even though I couldn't jump, I couldn't get close to the basket. So, but it wasn't fun at all. I looking back and doing a lot of, 4th step work, 5th step work with my sponsors over the years, just looking back and making inventory lists. It wasn't a lot of fun. I wasn't necessarily the best person I could be. Again, I went post high school. I went to study a year abroad, and I remember when I came back on the plane after that year abroad, before I started college, and I got off the plane, the look on my mother's face was like ridiculous. I was 6'1", probably somewhere around 300 pounds, and you're talking about a 19-year-old. and it was absolutely ridiculous. I had always tried to lose weight. In 10th grade, I had lost over the summer 25 pounds, over the summer, and I went back to school and promptly gained it all back and then some. So I never really had any success. I remember my father being on diets, throughout my entire life. My father, at this point, has really just given up. But before that, as a kid, always on diets, trying to lose weight. It was always about the weight, And, in college, it wasn't any different. I did try the Atkins diet in college successfully. I did lose 80 pounds, but I started getting severe chest pain because I was just, the amount of proteins that I was eating was sick. It was like, it was just not normal. And I look back on it and say, what was I thinking? And I was not working with any doctor. I was just doing it on my own. When you're 20 years old and getting chest pain, I said, okay, this is not a good idea. So I stopped. And of course, whatever I did lose, I got back. Now, again, diets work for some people, and whatever works for you, work it. It didn't work for me. I'm not sure why I thought my entire life that getting married would be a motivation for me to lose weight. It was, I guess, a little bit, but I really didn't put any focus into it. And so I did get married somewhere around 275 pounds, and I was 23 years old, and, I'm not sure what my wife saw in me. Again, I was very loud, very outgoing, very, funny, but really not such a serious person. I was responsible, but I wasn't like a serious type of like deep connecting type of person in terms of emotional and feelings. I never spoke about those things. Those were like, because once I got into that, I had to get into the food, and I had to get into why I'm an overeater, and I never wanted to touch that with a 10-foot pole, and it was very hurtful. But thank God I got married, wonderful wife, tremendous wife, and we started building a family. And at one point, I said to my wife, I said, this is ridiculous. I really got to try to lose weight. She never ever said anything to me about the weight, to her credit. She never said a word about it. As I look back now, I'm happy she didn't, because my mother would always say things to me about the weight. My mother would always take food away from me, and I resented it. In 8th grade, my mother took me to a doctor to lose weight. She convinced me to go to him. And I saw him, and he put me on a certain diet. I went back to the guy 2 weeks later, and he was so happy I lost some weight. And he wrote a letter to my pediatrician. And he started the letter saying that, he's seen me and about my problem of obesity. And that was it. That torqued me off. I said, I'm not obese. I'm 13 years old. I'm chunky. I'm husky. I'm not fat. And I didn't want to, I don't want to face the reality. And that kind of like, anytime my mother, and even to this day, when she comes to our house and she, with my other kids or something like that, and she tries to, pull the food away from some of my other kids, like I say, Mom, just let them go. Let them do what they do. They'll come to it on their own. You got to kind of try to, lay back a little bit. At that point, I was married with a couple of kids, and I said to my wife, I got to do something. So I started Weight Watchers. I was really good at it. For like a year and a half, I really did it well, and I worked out every day. I literally worked out 5 days a week. There was a gym around the corner from our house. We lived in Queens, and I worked out every day. I hit the treadmill every day. Again, I was an athletic guy, so I'm jogging. I imagine you're a guy, 6'1", 275, jogging on a treadmill. I mean, that's got to have some serious shocks on it, And needless to say, I did wear out a couple of treadmills at the gym, but hey, that's the way why you pay membership, And after a year and a half, I lost about 60 pounds, which was pretty good. At that point, one of my younger sisters was getting married overseas in Israel. My parents moved to Israel, and I had never met my future brother-in-law before, and I was flying with a pregnant wife and 2 kids, to Israel, and I was like, listen, I've been good for a year and a half. I really deserve to treat myself over the 10 days that we're going to be in Israel. I deserve, going for a wedding, it's a happy occasion. I deserve to treat myself. And when I went to Israel, I went off. And I mean, I went off. I went to every establishment that I remembered when I had studied abroad in Israel. I went there and I just ate, and it was 10 days of eating. I remember one night at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, I was in my parents' apartment. I was so sick. I was throwing up that I had overeaten. And of course, who did I meet in the kitchen at 1:30 in the morning? My father. He's in the fridge, 1:30, we're two of the same kind, two of a pair, and he's eating, the fridge out at 1:30 in the morning. I'm throwing up. He throws me a Pepto-Bismol, and I was like, okay, thanks, Dad. Next morning, I was right back at it. My wife was so horrified, that I would just keep going at it, even after being so sick the night before. Well, I came back after those 10 days, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get back on the Weight Watchers, and I'm back on, and I couldn't do it. And, I did the Weight Watchers, but I was always cheating. I wasn't working out as much. I couldn't regain the same seriousness and the same, focus once I had took that first bite overseas. And that just led to me just going off, and I ballooned somewhere up to, I was 29, and I ballooned somewhere over 350. I don't even know how much over 350. But at that point, in 2005, in the summer of 2005, and throughout this whole time, I just want to say I was very successful in life. Great marriage, wonderful family. My wife had a great job. I'm a teacher. I had risen in the ranks very quickly in the schools that I was in. I had an administrative position. I was a very popular teacher. I love doing what I'm doing. I love teaching. I love being in the school. I love, helping kids out. And I was very successful. So I didn't see anything wrong. There was one thing wrong, gnawing in the back of my mind. That was the weight. At that point, I said to my wife, when I had ballooned to that, I couldn't even get down on it. It hurt me to bend over to get down to play with my kids on the floor. Going up a flight of steps, I was out of breath. I couldn't play ball with my guys in school anymore. I couldn't run up and down the court. That was a complete joke for me to even think about playing ball. My knees were hurting me. I said to her, I said, listen, I'm done. I give up. Either, I'll just eat like this for another 20, 30 years. I'm 29, and either I'll have, quadruple bypass, or I'll just have a massive heart attack and die, one of the two. I'm not into bariatric surgery. I never wanted to have it, don't want to have it, don't think it's, for me, a good idea. So that wasn't on the table for me. And I had given up, literally had given up. I remember in April of 2005, at 29, one of my friends got married. And we were at his wedding, and it was, again, he was like the last of my friends to get married. So all our friends were at the wedding together. We were all married with kids, and we're sitting at the table together. And this guy got married at a hotel. The steak that he had was like the size of the plate. And I didn't just eat my plate. I literally finished off all my friends' food because they couldn't eat it. It was too much for them. I literally finished it off. And one of my very close friends sitting next to me, he says, yo, my friends call me Butchie. Yo, Butchie, you got to really you got to watch yourself. You're in for trouble. This is not normal. And I said, listen, I'm done. I don't know what to do. I said, I know where I'm at. I know what I'm doing. I give up. I can't do anything anymore. I've tried everything. I've tried a lot of diets. This is who I am. It's not changing. And I was really at a very low point in my life. Again, outwardly, you couldn't tell. Wonderful wife, wonderful family. I had a nice house, good job. But inwards, I was a complete mess. Summer 2005, we had a relative who had lost 25, 30 pounds. She looked great. So I kind of got at her. She didn't want to tell me. I don't know. It was very secretive. She's doing this thing called Ovaries Anonymous, this 90-day program thing. I had no idea what it was, but I said, listen, I don't really care. I'll try anything. If you tell me to eat bricks, I'll say how many times a day. No, I didn't really care. So Thursday night, July 7th, I listened to a phone meeting. And on the meeting, there was a woman who shared her story. And it was like an epiphany for me. There were people on this, first of all, I thought most of the people who shared were out of their minds, because everybody was like, I thought they were high, because they were saying how the trees are beautiful and the earth is beautiful and life is beautiful, and the day is beautiful, and everything's nice. But what does this have to do with losing weight? What are you guys smoking? But I listened. And what I listened to was everybody who shared, I identified with. I said, that's me. It didn't make a difference how they got there or what they did. The bottom line is that they couldn't put the food down, and they had found a solution. And they were maintaining, for whatever the period, 90 days minimum, they were maintaining back-to-back abstinence. And I said, man, there are other people out there like me. Because again, in my family, we didn't talk about this. My father and I, we never had this heart-to-heart about this, ever. We don't talk about it. And I'm one of six. I'm the guy who's a spitting image of my father. I'm him, and my other siblings are pretty, they're not compulsive overeaters. I'm the one. And we never had this conversation, never came up. And I was like, when I heard everybody sharing, I was like, man, this makes sense. I feel like at home. I really feel like I can, and no one's judging me. No one is saying that I did something wrong. This is my makeup. This is who I am. Perhaps when God was giving out, the off switch when you're full, before I was born, maybe I was at the buffet table, so I missed God giving that out. I don't know, but I don't have an off switch when it comes to food. And I really, thank you. And I really identified with everybody. So I gave my name as a newcomer. I spoke up, and I didn't want to do it. I spoke up. And after the meeting, she called me. The leader called me, and she gave me the name of somebody else, a man in program. It turns out, just in terms of anonymity, that man was her husband. She did not break his anonymity. And it turns out for the last 14 years, he's been my sponsor. So, and he gave me my original sponsor. So really, he's been involved in my program since day one. And I spoke to him, and I let it all out. On that Thursday night, I just let it all out. And I was like, I don't know what to do. So he said, listen, he told me what he does. And he gave me the name of a sponsor. I called the guy right away. And I was like, listen, on Friday, Friday, July, I said, I got to do this. So the guy said, you don't want to wait till after the weekend? I said, no. I don't have to get abstinent now. Just try it. I don't know if I'll ever do it. And Friday night, July 8th was my first abstinent meal. And since then, one day at a time, back-to-back abstinence. I went on the scale that July 8th, and it went up to 350, but it said error, E for error, because I was somewhere above 350, so I'm not exactly sure what. But I worked the program, and I maintained the weight loss, but there's no graduation from this program, and that's one thing that I have learned. One thing that was very difficult for me to get, and it really took a long time, and I have to work on it constantly, was the second half of the first step, that my life was unmanageable. I could admit that I'm powerless over food. I mean, that's easy. I mean, I could do that for years. But my life was not unmanageable. I mean, I was successful. I was married. I had a wonderful family. The end of the day was, when I realized, and I see how good my life is now one day at a time, I realized I was a complete mess. Inside, I was such an emotional disaster. And now there is a certain amount of serenity that I'm able to function with, that at least for today helps me out. So I follow exactly what my sponsor says. I call my sponsor at the allotted time that I'm supposed to call my sponsor. I do my readings. I do my writings. I make my phone calls. I do my meetings. To me, I have a plan of, I don't move without calling my sponsor. 2 months ago, one of my sons graduated high school, and on the spur of the moment, my wife and I took him out to a restaurant, and I didn't have a certain thing on my food plan, so right then and there, I just called my sponsor, and we worked it out. I can't make decisions with food. 29 years of my life, I made decisions in food. It ended up being 350 plus pounds. It doesn't work. So I just give it all over to my sponsor. And I guess as I come to the end over here, I would just say that, it's about today. It's about today, and I am forever scared of that first fight. I know people. I just saw a guy about an hour and a half ago who had lost over 100 pounds in program and gained it all back and then some. And this is a person with a cardiac history. I have friends who have died after losing 150, 160 pounds, eating it all back, and then just because of the obesity have died because of it. So there is no graduation for me from this program. It's about today. It's about getting my head on that pillow abstinent at the end of the day and doing whatever I got to do to keep that abstinence. If you fail to plan to fail. And that's how I live my life one day at a time. Very often, things are stressful. Times are stressful. But I try to say the serenity prayer numerous, multiple times during the day. And, this program works if you work it. It's so cliche and everybody says it, but it is so gosh darn true. It works. If you work it, it works. And it's just a matter of me giving realizing I can't make decisions regarding food. I don't have that ability. There are people out there that have the experience, strength, and hope and are in recovery. And they are, he is my sponsor. And I just turn it over to my sponsor, turn it over to my higher power, and just pray for help. And one day at a time, I've been able to maintain the weight loss to the point where, people see me, they don't remember what I looked like, beforehand. And I'm happy about that, because I'm not happy about the way I look, and I'm not happy about the person who I was. But now, for today, I'm extremely happy at where I am. I do have a lot to clean up still on my side of the street. There is a lot that I need to clean up. But for today, I can put my head on the pillow at the end of the day saying, it was a crazy day today. Everything went wrong, but at least I'm abstinent. I did not eat over it. So I really thank everybody for coming to the meeting. I thank Bob for getting me, calling me to do this. And thank you, Pat, for leading, and everyone who shared. I'll put my name and number in the chat, and please feel free to call me at any time. Thank you very much.